Okay, we got it. We got ourselves the Warhammer Kislev. We got ourselves the Kislev roster reveal finally here from Creative Assembly. Total War popping it off. And in this video today, if you're watching after the fact, this is a live stream, of course, we're going to be working our way through the lore of this roster reveal. We'll be talking about some of the stuff from the Allied contingent, from the Warhammer RPG, and a number of other things. So mainly what we're going to be going over are the legendary lords, talking a little bit about some of their mount options, or lack thereof. And then we're going to go into the heroes, lords, and heroes, lords, and units, as well as the lores of magic. We're going to talk a little bit about how some of these lores, or the two lore of magic, lore of Tempest and lore of Ice, derive very heavily from the singular lore in the Warhammer RPG, and it's been split off into the two for the sakes of Total War Warhammer 3. So, if you are watching this after the fact, just kind of bear with. I will be dealing with people that perhaps make donations, or they're subscribers to the channel and stuff like that. You'll see those notifications pop up on the right over there. So I apologize if that is a little annoying for you. I'm trying this format out, see how it goes for future little roster reveals. But we do have a ton of stuff going. And again, one more thing, if you are watching after the fact, I will try to repeat any question from chat out loud, so that this way I'm not just answering disembodied questions and you're going, what's he even saying? So let's have some fun here today. Let's take a look at some of what's going on here. Looking at chat, what do we got going here? Welcome at the perfect time for this. Neat. Okay, so let's just take a look here at the initial kind of little bitty. We'll read these two little paragraphs. It gives anyone who's joining the stream late a chance to jump in. But welcome to the roster reveal for Kislev. Unthanked in their endless task of standing as the bulwark against chaos to protect the realms of men, the men, women, and bearers of Kislev are resolute in not allowing their homeland to become corrupted. From the lowliest farmer to the mightiest bear rider, the snow leopards that prowl the wastes to the living embodiment of the land itself and the people's god, all are prepared to fight for every inch of territory and never allow chaos to regain a foothold. Should they fall, all will surely follow. Below you'll find lore, notes, and odd detail on every unit you can recruit in these northern lands. Note that the Total War Warhammer 3 is still in development and everything is subject to change, hence why we haven't given you the exact damage and health values for everything below. Consider these guidelines and the odd teas, rather than set it in stone, and prepare to lead Kislev to conquer their demons. So, let's have some fun today. Let's look over this stuff. If you're just joining in, don't forget, you can check my link in the description to get yourself some sneak. Go ahead and use that Sparty code. I'm going to call it that from now on, that creator code Sparty at checkout. Because I had to wake up early for this. Turn and I were talking about it. We don't wake up this early. And we're like, dude, I gotta wake up at he woke up at 6. And I woke up at 6:50. Because I said, okay, I'll go at 8. And he went at 7. And I'm like, struggling. It's because I usually stay up until 2 a.m. I can't help it. So, we're going to go into Katarin first, Tzarina. And I do have some qualms with a lot of this roster. And it's mainly just that I wanted to see more out of the mount options, out of the unit diversity. We've done our Kislev lore video, which I'll link in the upper right corner, going through our own roster that we've created regarding a lot of the Allied contingent and rosters from days of yore for Kislev. So we'll kind of go over that stuff. All right, so we're going to read both Kostaltyn, well, we're going to read all the lore, but ascending to the throne and crown in the wake of her father's bloody death. So this is a big little ditty right here, because a lot of people were kind of saying like, hey, the Tsar's not dead. The big thing here is that the Tsar is dead. That's why she is Tzarina. So ascending to the throne and crown in the wake of her father's bloody death, fighting against the hordes of chaos, Katarin has wasted no time cementing her grip upon Kislev. She is, in every way, a totalitarian ruler. She is stern and unflinching, and will readily have rivals removed by agents of the crown if she cannot win them over with cold reason. The base of Katarin's power, beyond hereditary right, is her extraordinary magical prowess. She is the greatest ice witch for generations, capable of magical feats more deadly and devastating than any other ice witch in Kislev. Prowess? Prowess. Prow of a ship. Prowess. Goddamn, I always say it prowess for some reason. The leader of the Ice Court, Katarin, is more adept at training and maintaining the Frost Maidens who call it home and the Ice Guard who protect them. As the most powerful ice witch of her age, she is unlikely to miscast, and as the ruler of Kislev, she crushes rebellion and corruption wherever she goes. So she's got 2 mounts, Warbear and Warhorse, and selection of unique spells, abilities, or skills. Lore Master, Lore of Ice. Katarin is complete master of the Lore of Ice, making her spells deadlier, cheaper, and faster. Is the music too loud? Is it all good? I just want to make sure that it's not drowning me out or anything like that. But on to Frostfang. Katarin's legendary blade, Frostfang, bestows upon her a huge number of incredible powers. Chief among them is its titular explosive spell, also named Frostfang. So, couple things. So, oh, by the way, Paris, thank you very much for your donation, man. Hello, how are you? Did you see the new Gaunt's Ghost minis making me think of getting into 40k again? I did see them. I haven't read the book for Gaunt's Ghost, so I don't have that kind of like love for it that I think a lot of people do. But I mean, dude, if it gets you back into the 40k, it gets you back into the 40k. Welcome back to your plastic crack. But let's go over some lore here, because there's 2 big standout items, and I'll pop this back and forth. Let's this open these up in new tabs here, so we can take a look in a book, Reading Motherfucking Rainbow. Okay. So one of my big problems is that her mount is just the Warbear and the Warhorse. So here is a little ditty. But greatest of all was Tzarina herself. Positioned at the head of her army, she was ready to take the fight to these northern barbarians who dared invade her land. Riding atop a tall, high-sided sled of shimmering icy brilliance, she watched her warriors prepare for march with an aloof gaze. A team of silver horses whose flanks shimmered with hoarfrost and whose breath was the winter wind were hitched to the front of the sled. The Tzarina's crown of ice glittered, and her brow and her azure gown sparkled in the afternoon sun. Frost was sheathed at her side, and she wore a cloak woven from swirling crystals of ice and snow. So, I mean, already, you read this little lore blurb and you get a lot of discrepancy, right? Frost is the name of her weapon, not Frostfang. Isn't Frostfang the name of, like... No, I'm thinking of Frostmourne, I'm sorry. Frostfang is like the generic RPG name for an ice sword. It's like, oh, okay, I guess we changed the name and went to Frost. In addition, we have a horse-drawn war sled or chariot of some sort, right? So that in and of itself kind of has like a little bit... It kind of... I found that a little bit jarring, right? There was a little... too much discrepancy where it's like, yeah, you could have just gone with the war sled and that would have been pretty damn fun. That up right there. But I mean, perhaps they're holding to the war sled for a later date. I know Tern was saying that he had talked to CA and they said that, oh yeah, she's definitely on a war sled. So I don't really understand the choice to make it so both characters are on war horses and war bears and not give one, if not both, the chance to be on a sled, if not even a monstrous mount. Because I think the biggest problem we're going to find with Katarin and Kostaltyn is that they're going to have a hard time dealing with any of the monstrous legendary lords from the entire roster. So if we look at the demons, you've got Greater Demons of Khorne. That's fucking scary. Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch. Those are pretty scary units. And obviously, you're not going to take a tried and true caster and throw her into melee, so it is what it is. But if they get onto her, they're going to do a lot of damage fast. When I was playing in the Brass Citadel mission, or quest, she got dumpstered from 2 swings from the Bloodthirster. Which, I mean, be totally honest, the Bloodthirster is the only thing in tabletop that I had 9 or 10 weapon skill, I can't remember. And it was one of the strongest hitting things in the game, so makes sense. But if she's on a Warbear, sure, she's going to have more hit points, but she won't have the ability to squeeze out of an engagement quickly. She does have damage mitigating abilities, so it's going to be pretty scary to see her up against anything from Chaos Demons, anything from Ogre Kingdoms, anything from the Chaos Dwarfs who have access to tons of monstrous creatures. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do with this. And again, it's kind of interesting to see that, you know, her sword here, Frostfang, is just not called Fear Frost. Tyrion had the same weapon skill as a Bloodthirster. Thank you very much, Roland Day. I couldn't remember. You could also make a Blender Lord with your vampire counts to have the same, if not even more, weapon skill. I think taking Red Fury, making him... In 6th edition, you couldn't do it in 8th edition. You took Red Fury and you made him a Blood Dragon. And he gained 1 weapon skill and 1 strength, I want to say, for being a Blood Dragon. And then... I'm going to jump that forward because I just can't hear operatic voices in the back of my mind right now just screaming at me. But interesting nonetheless. So let's move on a little bit further here into, let me see. Yeah, we'll be getting into the, where does it say it? Okay, I was looking for this, so we'll get into that a little bit. So we'll move into Kostaltyn, the new support hero, the Supreme Patriarch. Let's talk a little bit about them. So Urson is not a vicious god, although he is both brutal and merciless in times of war. To his followers, he is fatherly and large. Large. Kostaltyn is the supreme patriarch of the Ursine cult and as the highest ranking clergy in the nation, the de facto leader of the Grand Orthodoxy. With wild hair, wilder eyes, and wither-thin limbs, Kostaltyn is a ghoulish figure, robed in the finery of resurgent Ursinite faith. He is a howling, angry firebrand, screaming furious rhetoric at the enemy and urging the warriors around him to fight on with a fearful mixture of encouragement and threat. For he is himself fearless, able to recover from any wound quickly, and thus inspire his flock to run pell-mell, I haven't heard that term in ages, at foes that any sane person would flee. With complete control of the faith that binds Kislev together, Kostaltyn whips his followers into a holy fervor. He despises the machinations of the Tzarina and her ice court and considers them usurpers and magic-wielding heretics. So this is really interesting. This is a very interesting lore stance for anything. When we take a look at the lore of Kislev as a whole, namely Tsar Boris, Tzarina Katarin's father, he caused a grand resurgence of the cult of Ursus in Kislev. And the cult of Ursus has always been close to the monarchy of Kislev. It's a very, like, when we think of Sigma, we think of Empire. We think of Ursun in the same line as we think of the leader of Kislev. It's not like a... they've kind of created like this really weird kind of Kievan Rus Grand Orthodoxy kind of at the end of its empire as it transitions from pagan into Orthodoxy kind of mechanic for them. And it's a weird shoehorning in my opinion, because the Ursun cult was brought back in such a big way by Tsar Boris, so Boris Broka, and so it's kind of an interesting complete 180 on the lore to take this and go, actually, yeah, the cult of Ursus is antithesis, or at least an antagonist to Katarin. It's a really hard, different stance. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about it. We'll have to see how it comes out in the game and the rest of the lore of these characters. But so far in just these 2 lore entries, things have shifted, right? We've seen a big shift away from the way that the lore was established for Kislev for many years. And this means that this is going to probably be in Warhammer, the old world. They're going to probably drastically change it for that coming release. And if you guys have any questions in chat, please just mention, go type in, ampersand, at, type in at Italian Spartacus, and it'll just draw my eye a little bit easier. Now let's get into his goodies here. Whew. Give my voice a break here. Sorry, it's early, so my allergies are still like ripping me apart. I usually like record like 2 hours after I wake up because I live with cats and those roughen me up. Am I growing my beard long? No, actually, I'm gonna get trimmed for the first time since lockdown on Friday. Can't wait. Yeah, guys, don't forget to like the stream. It does help me out a ton. Helps out any content creator you watch. So please, 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 guys. Would you like to subscribe for more questions? Grant, agree. 100%. 150%. So, mount options here for Kostaltyn. He gets a war... You know, one thing you don't want your sneak, or any drink for that matter, to taste like is soap. So this is either going to be a very, very long stream as sneak enters its way into my bloodline, into my blood vessels, into my pulmonary system. What's wrong with me today? Into my blood, and I lose track of time and we go on for hours. Or this actually was soap, and this becomes a very fast stream that is bookended by diarrhea. Let me, Julio, give me 1 second. Let me finish this and we'll jump to your question. So the section of unique spells, abilities, or skills. Ursun's Ward. Kostaltyn is an unkillable paragon of his people. And even the most mortal wounds simply power him to greater heights of ferocity as he faces down his enemies. Now we know the way that this works from the Q&A is the lower his health, the higher his weapon skill is. Weapon strength. Man of the people, Kostaltyn's fervor means he never lacks faithful, loyal warriors to send into battle. So I don't know what that really means. It's probably some sort of recruitment bonus or something of the sort. Maybe he actually has an activatable where he can summon a unit of Kossars or armored Kossars onto the battlefield. We don't really know. We also know he does have a weapon that does increase his weapon strength as well if he's low in health. Actually, I think that is what increases his weapon strength when he's lower in health, is his Mace of Dawes. Now, as a Grand Patriarch of Supreme Patriarch, sorry, of the Ursunite cult, he has this Ursun's Ward, and his hey, what was that? What did that say? Hey, Jarl of the North, dropping a $10 donation. Thank you very much, man. That weird little emoji thingy. This mace is the Mace of Dawes, Dawes being the god of fire for Kislev. So the lower his HP, he gets a bonus to his weapon strength. I think it's below 50%. Let's jump here into the Kislev Lords. Now, this is one of the only units we've not seen in the actual game. If you remember the CG trailer of the guy who goes from like the seemingly like corrupted Boyar throughout the whole thing, and then he becomes chaos whatever at the end, it's a Boyar. So we get that same kind of large bare chest piece, the same kind of rugged look and features. In fact, that's the same head right there, so you get that same features right there. Let me answer this question real quick. What do you think the odds are that Boris is not really dead? Kostaltyn must consider Katarin a usurper for a reason. Also love Kostaltyn. He's a day one pick for sure. Julio, that's actually a really good stance. There was a part in the lore where it was like he fought in some bloody battle and he was whisked away to some not monastery, but a temple of Ursun in the mountains, and he wasn't actually dead. Like, they might be trying to go down that line, but one of the big things was that he dies in a nameless battle from a nameless individual. So that they could be going down the other route. What do you think about what do you think about there only being one bear cavalry variant in the limited mount options? Limited mount options I was just talking about a bit ago, Glam. I'm pretty upset about that. I just think they could have gone with more. Who is Katarina's favorite rapper? I can't remember his name, man. I couldn't help you out right now, man. My brain's just not there, Christian. I had a funny joke, but it wasn't... Oh, Vanilla Ice, babe. Get out of here. Get off the stream. Close it down. Shut it down. We're leaving, guys. Do you think it is likely we get a Baba Yaga themed Lord pack for Kislev later on, or maybe an Ulrika Magadov one to bring in a bit of Vampire Kislev hybrid faction? Yes, Luke, I have made that claim many a times that Ulrika is probably most definitely coming to Kislev because of the options that she could possibly bring to the table and her viability as an amazing hybrid lord. We'll talk about more of those later. So let's jump in to finish off this Boyar. Ranking nobles, Boyars are powerful men and women within Kislev. They each govern specific areas of Kislev, including scores, if not hundreds of stanitsas. I'm sorry, Slavic people, I butchered it. As well as larger towns and small cities. Especially large cities are governed by boyars of singular prestige. This is a hereditary rank, although royal edict can raise one to the position. On the battlefield, they are tough and doughty fighters, the best in Kislev. Boyars serve the people in battle as extraordinary warriors, leading their forces from the front and clashing with enemies of every kind. They are inspiring lead commanders and deadly foes. So, we'll probably see some variations of these guys. And we actually see here, I'll pop this little bad boy up. We can look at this. Here's the unit card from the Allied contingents. Now, we can see a lot of different options from the tabletop for a Boyar. Now, Boyars were heroes. They were not lords like we're seeing here in the Total War roster, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. I'm just showing this as a juxtaposition. Now, here you can see they had an option for a lance, a great weapon, or an additional hand weapon. So I think we probably won't get anything like that. We'll probably get a sword and shield guy, just like an Empire general. But I wouldn't be surprised if they gave us a ranged variant that has a pistol or a handgun. I think that we see this a lot too, right? A lot of lord options from Total War Warhammer 2 that we didn't have in Total War Warhammer 1. I think if Empire were a Total War Warhammer 2 race, we would have seen Empire generals with different loadouts. So, Boyar, I think we will see a guy with a sword and a shield, maybe a great weapon as another variant, because there's so many options for the Kossars. But I think it would make a lot of sense if we saw a hand weapon and pistol Boyar variant to give us some sort of ranged kind of hybrid style character that has that kind of emphasis. The Boyar is in here. I've got the trailer somewhere. I will show you the in-game rendering of the Boyar. Which of the 50 things was it? It wasn't the announced trailer, it was the other cool. It wasn't this one. We've had like 5 trailers in the past like month, and it's hard to remember what the hell is what. The official cinematic trailer. Here we go. So here's what the Boyar looks like in game.
Is it just
this guy? This guy's a Boyar. He has the exact same face that we just talked about. The scar, the mutton chops. He's got a big old bare chest piece. Go back a little bit right here. Actually, just a little bit further back. There we go. And it'll jump right to him. There you go. That's your Boyar. So, although this is not in the actual playable game, this is him right here in the cinematic trailer. So at least you can see what the in-game version of this guy is supposed to look like. He'll obviously look different when he's not in a cinematic, but this gives you a sense of how that guy's going to come to life. And it's the same thing we saw here with the other character, right? With the Ice Witch. Now, again, it is a little disappointing to see that they only have a Warhorse or a Warbearer. I don't know why none of them have sleds, has options for mounts. It doesn't make any sense to me. It kind of bothersome, to be totally honest. So, going into the Ice Witch, we can talk a little bit about some ice lores. So, Kislev has no colleges of magic. Instead, its sorcery is derived from within the Ice Court, and invariably reflects the brutal winters of Kislev. It is from this body that the Ice Witches are drawn. Their ice magic is the raw, murderous power of cold harnesses weapon. From frozen ground that binds the foe's feet to lances of icy death. While all magic is drawn from the raging winds, there is no doubt that the ice magic is strongest when used within the borders of Kislev itself. Lore of Ice, which specializes in disrupting enemy movement, freezing them to death, as well as encasing allies in protective barriers or equipping them with armor-piercing weapons. So this is the Lore of Ice. We've seen these already: Ice Sheet, Ice Maiden's Kiss, Frost Blades, Death Frost, Crystal Sanctuary, and Heart of Winter. Those are the ones that we got during the Brass Citadel quest, and we've gone through them in detail in those respective videos. But here's the next one, and I'll be doing a video that's separate to this on just the Lore of Tempest. But we have the Gust of True Flight, Hailstorm, Swiftwing, Biting Wind, Hawks of Mishka, and Blizzard. So talk a little bit about those. We just got a donation here from Chris Nelson. Feral bears plus multiple tiers of bear cav and sleds would have helped distinguish Kostaltyn more, since most high tier units seem to be tied to Katarin. I really agree with you, Chris. I think that we're going to have to find out what Kostaltyn's kind of emphasis is. His will probably be on Kossars and lower tier units, versus Katarin will be on Ice Guard and Tsar Guard more than likely, and maybe even Bear Cav. So we'll have to really kind of see how that shakes out. Matt Hatter says, do you think an extra mount option might be saved for a DLC? Like when Grom dropped and Teclis got the Arcane Phoenix from the DLC as a mount. I think you're right. I'm upset by that, but I think you're right. And to piggyback off that, Bruce has got a good question here. Maybe a sled mount will be a Total War Access FLC. And I could absolutely see that being a thing. What I kind of don't like, before we jump into this Lore of Tempest, is that the mount options are too one note. And I'm really worried about the future of other rosters being too one note, because Khorne is a one note faction. I don't expect Khorne to be anything other than what Khorne is. Blood, skulls, and axes. That's it. It shouldn't be anything else. So he gets a pass, right? You can show off Khorne and throw pretty much nothing at him, and it's still an impressive roster because it's Khorne. But if Tzeentch is super bland, I'm gonna really be pissed. Well, not pissed. I'm going to play the game, but I'm still going to be upset by that. Or Slaanesh or Nurgle. Like, there is a lot of character to those three factions. There's a ton of character in the Ogre Kingdoms and the Chaos Dwarfs. So we're going to have to see how this kind of comes to the table, because I believe in this entire roster reveal, we're looking at 23 total units, whereas we typically get 25. So we're not that far off of, baseline for a launch faction. But it is still a little kind of funky to see everyone on a war horse or a war bear, not a single one of them on a war sled, which would make a lot of sense. Now, I don't know what the decision was, but again, that is just my opinion. So let me pop up here these Lore of Ice. So we got Gust of True Flight, Hailstorm, Swiftwing. There's a whole bunch of pictures here, so I'm trying to get them all organized. Keep and save. Keep and open in a new tab. Oop. Why did you not do what the other one did, you piece of... Just one sec, guys. Sorry. There we go. Got one other one for you. Save to keep. There we go. So So let me do this. I need to know the names of these spells. Okay. So let's take a look here. Now, a lot of these... So this is from the Warhammer RPG that shows off the lore of ice. Now, it seems to be for Total War Warhammer, they've broken that up into a bunch of different... into two different lores. Our lore of Tempest and our lore of Ice. Now, again, when we've gone over lore of Ice already, and the lore of Ice, for the most part, is pretty similar to a lot of these spells, too. But we're going to go over now Gust of True Flight, Hailstorm, Swiftwing, Biting Wind, Hawks of Mishka, and Blizzard. So, let's look here at Hailstorm. So, Hailstorm, I don't know necessarily all the details because this is from the RPG. If this is from tabletop, I'd be able to answer a little bit better. But you channel your ice magic upwards, forming large chunks of ice that fall onto the ground with horrifying speed. Use the large template. All creatures beneath the template take 1d10 plus 2 damage each round they remain in the area. So, I think that this one's a pretty obvious one. It could simply just be a Comet of Cassandra style where it just drops down Hailstorm and just kind of rains hail. It could be a Vortex spell, but I'm looking at the order in which they put it, and it's number 2 in line, so I doubt that it would be a Vortex spell. I think they would wait for Blizzard for it to be an actual Vortex spell. Now, it does say Hailstorm, so it could be a line ability where it just shoots down like in succession. So that could make a lot of sense. So I think, though, more than likely it would be like a Comet of Cassandra or maybe even a Breath Attack. It's probably like a cone style blast. It's probably one or the other between those two, to be totally honest. 1 second. Mike Popovici, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Ember, what's up? Light Liger asked, are there any theories on Tilia and Southern Realms? Could they be added in soon or after Warhammer 3? I think they're probably a post-Warhammer 3 one, for sure. Luke Hastings said that Hailstorm may be like Gaze of Mork or Amber's Spear. That's a cool call out. That's actually a pretty cool idea too. Alright guys, give me 1 sec. Okay. Let me try to go in order here. Let's go for Gust of True Light. I think that might actually be on the other one. Let me grab it real quick. Or I'm just dumb and I didn't see it. Biting Wind, Frostblade, Blizzard. Remember, almost all of these are ones we've already seen, right? Heartstorm, okay. Shart Storm is there. Remember the Frostfiend, Hawks of Mishka, Hailstorm, Ice Maiden's Kiss, Ice Sheet, Permafrost. Oh, so it looks like the only spell that's original is the one I wanted to look for first is Gust of True Flight. So that one, we don't know what that spell is, but Gust of True Flight makes me think it's a speed increase buff of some sort. And that could make a lot of sense, especially if all of the Ice Maidens and the Ice Witches are so squishy that they kind of need something to get away from combat quickly. Maybe it gives a speed bonus, maybe it gives a vigor buff, stuff like that. So I could see a Gust of True Flight being something like that. There is something similar here. Look for it. Guess not, never mind. Someone said I could see Hailstorm acting like Flock of Doom. That's a good one too, EJ. Well, that's not what. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Swiftwing. So this could be what the gust of whatever the hell it's called. Gust of True Flight could be called. The wizard turns into a blur of cyan energy which darts into the air, flicking away at incredible speed. The wizard can instantaneously move 100 yards for every 5 magic points put into the spell. As the character reaches a destination, the flash of energy coalesces back into their natural form. This spell may be used to carry the wizard into close combat, in which case the character counts as charging in the first round, blah, blah, blah. So this could be simply like the Lore of Tempest's Skitter Leap, more or less, which was kind of something I thought about from the actual name of it, but this kind of gives us a precedent of something somewhat similar to it. So this is from the Warhammer RPG First Edition, so it is some ancient lore. But let's go into some of the other spells from this. Close that, go back into here. And the other ones we have Swift Wing, which, I'm sorry, that wasn't Gust of the Holy Wind, that was the spell Swift Wing. We just saw the actual one. I'm all over the place today. But looking at Biting Wind, Hawks of Mishka, and Blizzard, we have got those in here. Hawks of Mishka right here. We have got, by calling upon pacts sealed by the first Con Queens, you summon the Hawks of Mishka, frozen spirits of fear, hatred, and dread. The icy birds crystallize from the air, and swoop around the target, loosing fearful cries. Use large template. All those in the area must pass fear tests, and those within 10 yards of the template must pass a routine fear test. So this could be something that does like an actual, like, hey, this is just going to lower the leadership and it's going to cause fear or terror. But it could also be something kind of similar to what we get with Fiery Convocation, right? With a phoenix rising up and then shooting down. It's hard to really say because they've done this before. They've pulled from the Warhammer RPG and they've done stuff that is just completely not what the Warhammer RPG's description of the spell was. So I could see this being something of either, hey, it's a line-based ability, it's going to shoot in a line, and it is going to summon up a hawk. If it is just like Fiery Convocation, please don't have it have a 17.5-minute wind-up where the bird comes up in the air, splays its wings, kind of sits there a little bit. Everyone on the battlefield knows a spell's coming, has 20 minutes to move their troops, and then it misses. Like, it's always the same story. There was an actual roster reveal, Lord Jingo. We're going through it right now. The link is in the description if you would so wish to go and just go take a look at it if you want, my dude. But that covers those. Let's go into Biting Wind and Blizzard here. Let's see. Oh, I just went by Blizzard. Okay, so Blizzard, I think Blizzard is pretty obvious. I think that this could definitely just be a moving vortex spell, but a swirling flurry of snow and ice rises from the land, freezing and blinding all in its path. You can cast Blizzard at any point you can see. Distant targets may require a perception test to see clearly, as dictated by the Grandmaster. That is not Grandmaster, that would be Game Master. God, all over the place. But Blizzard could be fun in that it might be something that could also reduce the ranged accuracy of units if you cast it on like a back line, so it does some damage to them. It is a vortex spell, but it also does reduce that ranged accuracy. But I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this lore differentiates itself from the lore of ice, because we have the spells from the lore of ice already, right? We know that, let's take a look back at the roster. We know that Ice Sheet, Ice Maiden's Kiss, Frost Blades, we know how these things work. Death Frost is, it lowers their movement speed. Crystal Sanctuary increases your unit's defense by 66%, but they can't move. I'm sorry, Ice Sheet is the one that reduces their movement speed. Death Frost is kind of like a soul... Bloodthirst? No, that's not the spell, the ability. Not Soul Quench, because that's from Lore of High Magic. Spirit Leech. It's like a Spirit Leech. That's it. Like a Spirit Leech. Does high damage over time. So we know that like nothing is entirely unique in this lore, aside from the Heart of Winter, which has got a cascading damage effect that for the longer it's on the table, the more damage it does, and that's cool and it's different, right? And it's a static vortex. It does not move. It stays in one spot, and it stacks up its damage over time. So that's really the only one that is overly unique. Frostblades increases your weapon damage. We have other abilities that do that. And again, Crystal Sanctuary does increase your physical resistance, but you can't move. That is unique in and of itself, but overly not too crazy. So I think Lore of Tempest is going to have a lot of the same things we've seen in other lores kind of smashed into the Tempest. Yes, knowledge spreader. The question was, is Indie Pride seems disappointed with the roster size? Are you? Yeah, we both talked about it. We're both kind of like, really? Kind of just this for that. And I think the big thing that we're disappointed in is that it took so long for us to finally see this roster, and the roster is not that much different than what we've seen. We're going to go through all the units here today. The newest units that we've seen are the Boyar, like for sure confirmed now Boyar, not just simply a guy in a video. The Ice Maiden, because we've seen the Ice Witch in the Kislev kind of flavor video, and then the Dervish, the Armored Kossar, which again we've kind of seen a little bit, and I think that's it. That's it. So there's not that much to go through here today, guys. So for the Frost Maiden, we are getting the hero level character for Kislev, who has access to Ice or Tempest, and guess what, guys? Access to Warhorse or Warbear. Patriarch has access to a Warhorse or a Warbear, but let's read this about the Patriarch here. The Sentinels of the Kislevite faith, bombastic, loud, and proud of their creed, they exhort the warriors around them to acts of courage, protecting them with the powers of faith. Patriarchs stride into battle, bellowing the folk songs of the Kislevite people, with the cadence of battle hymns and mighty miracles of war are wrought by their belief. I got my brain. Bones of long-dead Kislevite heroes are carried in reliquary boxes, and those nearby take heart. Although, whether they hold any true magical properties remains a topic of speculation. So, back on this. I have all my notes on my other screen, so. We were given the roster reveal early, so I'm able to look over some of this stuff, but what's cool here is his abilities. Ursun's Roar, Dawes' Song of Winter Sunlight, Tor's Battle Hymn, and Salyuk's Lullaby. So we've talked about this before. These are the chief gods of the Kislevite pantheon, as it were. Ursun's Roar, we would definitely know him. Dawes, we definitely know him already. Tor, we haven't talked about, and Salyuk, we haven't talked about, but we've seen Salyuk's Lullaby in the game already. It is a healing ability. And we've seen Ursun's Roar, it gives charge bonuses. So Dawes' Song of Winter Sunlight might imbue flaming attacks, much like we get with some other abilities in the game already. And Tor's Battle Hymn, I don't really know. Maybe that would increase melee attack and weapon strength, because Ursun's Roar increases charge damage. So you stack those two together and you get like a 1-2 punch. That could be pretty cool to go together. Dawes' song is the one in the trailer, right? Which trailer? We can take a look together. But I don't know. The ones that we've seen in the game for sure are these two. These are the ones we saw during the Brass Citadel fight. We might have seen this in a trailer, but Tor's Battle Hymn, I think, is the only one we haven't seen for sure. Very first trailer with the cart. That was the Oblast song. So, I'll take a look in just a little second here. Oh, the body cart? Ooh, jeez. Body to the floor. Oh, that is the name of the song. Yes, you're correct. So, Dawes' Song of Winter Sunlight, when you start up the very first announcement trailer, the song that they're singing is that song. Yes. Okay, I thought you meant an actual representation. Yeah, the Death is Like a Winter Chill song. Okay. Yes, that is that song. Yes. I was like, did we see? We could have. Correct. So, I think what I'm kind of upset about here with the heroes is we didn't get the checklist. The checklist is not an option. And the checklists were the secret police of Tzarina Katarin, and essentially this would be your spy unit. It would be your assassin style unit. So it makes me wonder, of these two heroes, which one is the assassin style unit? Is the Patriarch going to be the one who has the ability to wound, or is this the guy who has the ability to kill? Or is it going to be the Frost Maiden? And if it's the Frost Maiden, that'd make a lot of sense. So I'm surprised that we didn't get the checklist here. And I've talked about the checklist before, but I think it would have been a really awesome unit to have here, especially since this is a support style melee character. This is a support style casting character. Give the checklist range weapons and make him a guy who's using gunpowder the entire time. Kind of makes a lot of sense to me. So disappointed that we don't see that here. I guess they maybe held it back because it makes the most sense for a DLC hero because of whatever, but you could have even done a generic hero captain, right? You could have done the Boyar as a hero, so as a hero version of him too. So interesting to not see either one of those, either the checklist or a hero level Boyar in the game. I guess that lines us up for 2 DLCs, one possibly bringing Boris into the game and one possibly bringing Ulrika into the game. So that's, I guess, some stuff to talk about. But moving into the actual units here, we've got the Kislev missile infantry with the Kossars, and we have 2 different variants with bow and axe and bow and spear. So this will give us, we've seen this before already, notable characteristics, the backbone of the Kislevite army, cheap and easy to build. As with all Kislev units, can keep their leadership in even the direst of circumstances. Early access to both bows and spears allows for a hybrid powerful army from the off. From the start off, from the get off, from the whatever off. So what I find kind of interesting here is another thing that they've taken with the lore is kind of dissolved the overall cultural. They've made Kislev very culturally ambiguous, whereas in the lore it is very culturally diverse and rich. There are many different types of portions of Kislev. It's kind of like the actual history of the Slavic people in Eastern Europe, how there are a lot of different influences into, again, Kiev and Rus, and the formation of Rus and Russia is you have a lot of influence from Slavic groups, from quote-unquote Varangians or Norwegians and Swedes, and you also have a lot of influence from Hunnic and like Pechenegs on the east. So all this kind of smatters together in a whirlwind throughout the Kievan Rus and creates these very different cultural groups. And it's like that for Kislev, or at least the earlier lore was. You have the Gospodars, you have got the Ungles, you have got different portions of who these people represent. And the Gospodars were essentially the ruling class. Ungles were the original inhabitants of Kislev. So it's interesting to see that kind of done away with entirely. Maybe they just did it for for the sake of making this post to kind of be, okay, just make some really quick little lore about every little thing. This isn't going to be anything crazy. We'll actually jump into it in the game. And so it's very interesting to see that kind of departure from which once was a very diverse background into just like, hey, here's a unit. It's called the Kossars. Whoop. Oh, okay. And it was kind of like the Kossars were more militia-styled, Ungle militia, quote-unquote lowborn, and the more professional soldiers were the Gospodars, or especially the ruling class were the Gospodars. So again, very weird to see that kind of departure. Let me look here. All right, just making sure I didn't miss anything. But we then get into the Streltsy, and we get a lot of the same homage we got from the original Streltsy in the lore. The Streltsy were originally armed with bardishes and handguns in order that they could rest their firearm upon the crook of the polearm and thereby achieve greater accuracy. However, in an effort to get one more shot off before the enemy closed upon them, the warriors would often run out of time to effectively stow their gun and ready their bardiche. Instead, the heavy gun was often simply reversed and used as a bludgeon. Eventually, Streltsy captains took the radical step of embracing the alternative approach and had their Rotas rifles modified to include axe blades on the gun stock. And the original lore for these guys is that one specific captain had become obsessed with Empire gunpowder and trained his Streltsy to use gunpowder. And then this is in Erengrad, and then everyone came to Erengrad to learn how to shoot guns because of this captain, and then Streltsy became a bigger thing. It was way less of a, like the handgun was kind of like a, yeah, shoot once, twice, use the bardiche. And then he kind of changed that dynamic and made it so that the handgun was a bigger part of the Streltsy and the overall lore of this character. And it's interesting too because, again, this is originally an Ungol mercenary style unit, so it's weird to kind of see that departure away from that heavy cultural background and into just this, which is, again, fine. I guess they're homogenizing it to make it easier to digest, but I don't see why you couldn't just kept that little line in there. Their signature gun, Great Axe, represents both the coolest hybrid weapon in Warhammer history and one of the best. Also based on the 16th century weapon, armored and armored piercing with decent melee capabilities to go alongside their shooting prowess. Prowess. It's prowess. Prow of a ship. God damn, man. Moving to the Ice Guard, and we've seen the Ice Guard before in the game. The Ice Guard are a little bit new. We've seen them brought to life in Warhammer the Old World as well, but we get a bow and dual sword or a bow and glaive variant for them. Fearless and stout, the women of the Ice Guard will face any foe. Frostbite consumes targeted enemies, slowing them, and anti-infantry and anti-large variants make them another useful hybrid unit for Kislev army. So if you haven't seen here, everything we've talked about is hybrid. All their missile units, bow and axe and spear, or bow and great weapon. That's what a Streltsy is. It's got the great axe. Ice Guard gives us glaive and dual sword. I'm sorry, this is not bow, this is a handgun. So you get a lot of different variation in that type of hybrid unit, and that's pretty cool, because then we get into pretty specialized unit in the Kislev infantry. So jumping into the armored Kossars. Armored Kossars are full-time soldiers, either paid by the crown or simply supported by their wealthy families. As such, their time is spent entirely either training or carousing. They are dour, grim-faced killers on the battlefield, but after the battle is done, they are the most belligerent, boisterous, and hard-drinking of all the celebrants at a victory feast. Arrogance, reinforced by undeniable results, these are warriors as good as an ordinary man can hope to become. They wear heavy armor and heavy armor above the waist and sturdy reinforced boots, though their legs are clad only in baggy trousers. Oh, sons of bitches. Baggy trousers. Clean that up. Go to Old Navy. Get yourself some capri pants and swing around Kislev like that, huh? No one's gonna doubt you. Now, what's interesting is this shows us the armored Kossar in this picture, but from what I've played and what you guys have seen, this is the Zargard. So maybe there's a stark difference between the Zargard and the armored Kossars that I am not seeing. Perhaps it's the amount of armor on their chest or something like that, but to me this is the same unit as the Zargard, and I think they just put this picture here. I don't believe we've seen the armored Kossars, for the exception of, let me bring up this video.
The full
No, Cody, not you. Get out of my video right now, Cody. Cody Bond's always trying to shit on my parade. Okay, it's this one. It's this one. Here we go. So I think the difference here, and I think actually Indy and I were talking about this, and I think he made this distinction as well. Yeah, armored Kossars wear a red shirt. I mean, dude, I don't know if you're making a red shirt joke, but sounds like it. I think these guys are armored Kossars because we then see this. I think this guy right here is an armored Kossar because he can use a pistol. There we go. That's the shot I wanted. So I think these guys are all armored Kossars. They have a pistol and a shield, which is kind of cool. And then the Tsar Guard look a little bit heavier, I believe. How do I have closed captioning on? Streltsy right there. Yeah, I think these are the Tsar Guard, probably. I thought we actually got closer to them. I don't think so. Yeah. Oh, these guys with the maces are probably the Tsar Guard right here. Let's look back at this, because again, with the armored Kossars, they get pistol and axe, and pistol and great mace. Pistols, while limited ammunition, give armored Kossars a great first punch. Great maces. Oh, okay. So the great mace we were just looking at is the armored Kossar. Great maces crush skulls and smash armor to pieces. Love a post-battle drink. Now the Tsar Guard here we've seen already with the sword and shield, and then the great sword. So we've seen all of these different styles of units across everything, right? Across the trailers, across the limited screenshots we've seen. We've actually seen the unit picture for the Tsar Guard and the armored Kossar now at this point. So we get the great sword variation with the Tsar Guard, the most elite fighting force and personal guard of Tzarina Katarin. Hardy, difficult to kill, armored with the option of carrying great swords into battle, while slower than their less trained peers, make up for it with incredible battle capabilities. So I am curious to see how much different these two are. Let's pop up this picture. I'll get us the actual stats for the Tsar Guard here real quick. Oh, that's just a cool picture. Ice Guard. Take 5 million pictures of things. I cannot find my unit card picture for the Tsar Guard. That's disappointing. I know I sent it to Trident. Well, I guess we won't look at the unit card for the Tsar Guard. That's disappointing. Sorry, guys. And that's what I was going to get into. So the Tsar Guard here is definitely the variation of the Kreml Guard. Now, the Kreml Guard, what we had from the Citadel Journal, which has a very similar description for these guys. The Kreml Guard were the Boka Palace Guard. Kreml is the name of Boka Palace. So it seems to be that they've just simply taken that, thrown out the name Kreml, thrown out the name Boka Palace, and just threw Tsar Guard into there for them. And so it just kind of depends too. They're also called the Ducal Guard for the Ducal Guard of Prague in the Gotrek and Felix novels. So there's a bunch of different variations of these guys, and it's just kind of interesting to see them brought here as Tsar Guard, as far as like their naming conventions across the lore over the years. Where's the Kossar Adidas tracksuit variant? Yeah, I'm kind of upset about that. I haven't seen a single Drug Lord variant on here. Kind of pissing me off right now. So, when do you think we will see the Khorne roster reveal? I'm hoping really soon, WWW. I'm hoping soon. So, jumping into the cavalry. Hey, what's up, Armon? How you doing, big boy? Okay, the Book of Palace was mentioned in this? Oh, there you go. Dice Guard, formidable warrior sent to the Book of Palace. Well, the actual naming convention for the Tsar Guard, I guess, is left out. Kreml Guard might be saved as Regiment of Renown. That's a great call too, Will. Kreml, the Regiment of Renown sword and shield version of these guys, who probably have like a Guardian passive. I could see that definitely being a case. The Ducal Guard of Prague could be saved too for like a greatsword variant. They definitely have a lot of options for Regiments of Renown when it comes to a lot of these units, giving either different variations or a bunch of abilities. So yeah, Kreml Guard is a very good call out for a Regiment of Renown for the Tsar Guard. Really, really good one on that, Will. You want to make a video? You're crushing it. So moving into the cavalry, we have the Kosovoite dervishes. Now, I have not seen these, period. Much of Kislev is known as the Oblast, a huge open wilderness. It is said that one's horse is one's life won on the Oblast. This is not a joke or an old wives' tale, but rather the cold, hard truth. If a Kislevite rider is freezing, they warm them their steed first. If they are thirsty, it drinks before them. Why? Because without a horse, if the hunters of the dark gods don't catch them, the motherland's wintry embrace will, like an orphan of their children just as readily. So, oh, a little pop. This kind of pulls pretty heavily from the RPG 2. Let me get this one. The Steppe Nomad. We get a character that, again, is an Ungol-style nomad character that we see kind of stripped of his Ungol heritage, I guess you could say, in Warhammer. But this is the same thing. This is the same thing that we are seeing here as the steppe nomads coming in as these dervishes. And it's hard to say what these guys will be, but I'm pretty sure that... Oh, what did I just close? Something I didn't want to. When we look at these guys, can sneak up to the enemy lines for vanguard deployment, incredible speed from well-bred, cared-for horses, the quintessential hit-and-run attacker. Don't leave them in a straight fight for too long. So, these guys... Oh, where did I close? I know what I closed. These act as a direct juxtaposition to the horse archers, which you would have assumed would be Ungol horse archers. So this is just your combat variant. It's a fast cav. It's basically just your Illyrian Reaver with a spear is what it sounds like. And I don't know if it's with a spear or if it's with a sword and shield, how it's going to be. My assumption is that it would just be with a spear, no shield, or probably a spear and a shield variant, depending upon... although I think they would have put variant in here. That was a good one. Oh. Do the things that you... Keep saying it's the most fucking annoying thing in the world. Okay. Let's look at this. We're going to go back to this picture here in the steppe nomad. Notable figures. Kosamir, the ice dervish, was only a small boy when hobgoblin raiders slaughtered his entire Krug. He was wounded and left for dead, but luckily was discovered by a wandering ice witch who carried him to her yurta, where she tended his wounds. When she had restored him back to health, she ordered a nearby Krug to take him in. Kosamir grew to become a fine warrior and an asset to his adopted family, but he continued to nurse his hatred towards hobgoblins, and his desire for revenge grew stronger. When he was old enough, Kosamir took his horse, his gear, and his weapons and disappeared into the Oblast. He found a band of hobgoblin raiders and killed them all, his ferocity and speed catching them by surprise. It was not enough, however, and he continues to ride the north to this day, attacking any greenskin he finds. He is legendary for his speed, his accuracy, and his complete disregard for personal safety. These and his ability to survive the winter alone won him the name Ice Dervish. Many young Ungol men look up to Kostamir and hope to become like him, and killing Hobgoblin raiders single-handed has become an unofficial rite of manhood. Kostamir returns occasionally to his old Krug and always responds to the call to join the annual Rota. Otherwise, he lives and fights alone. So here is at least a little taste of the word dervish being applied to these types of characters, to a steppe nomad. So it kind of creates a little bit of a precedent here. Alright. Got pinged on Discord and I didn't know what the fuck it meant. And I really do wonder if we were going to see hobgoblins in Total War Warhammer 3 in some way, shape, or form. I mean, they've already been brought up. The Hobgoblin Khanate has been brought up in the new map for the old world. So I do want to see if it kind of makes its way into Warhammer 3 in some way. All right, Hugh Gedney, have a good one, man. Thanks for jumping in. Knowledge Spreader said, since you played the new DLC, do you know if there is an FLC Lord? I have not played the new DLC. And any content creator who has told you they have played the new DLC is, like I've said before, on some sort of cooler and better list than I am. I have to sign an NDA. So if I've played the DLC, I can't even say that I've not played the DLC. So that is telling you legally, I have not played that DLC. So I do not know if there is an FLC Lord. So again, if that helps you out, Knowledge Spreader, and anyone saying that they've played the DLC, if they've played it, they are a tester or something like that, and they've actually played it. But if any content creator says that they've done it, they are on a cooler list than me, and they shouldn't even be talking about it, because that's how an NDA works. I can't even admit that it exists. So hopefully that answers your question. But now we jump into the Winged Lancers, the JV cavalry slot, the one that's not as good as the Griffin Legion, but one that is cool nonetheless. And we already kind of saw these guys. They're very similar to Empire Knights and Reichsguard when we look at the Lancers and the Griffin Legion. But when we look at the Lancers and the Griffin Legion, we're looking at a higher attack and a higher amount of charge bonus. When we take a look at Reichsguard and Empire Knights, we see a higher melee defense and a higher armor value. So here we go, though. We've already seen these guys in the game, so we know exactly what we're expecting with them. And I do love the concept art, though, for the Griffin Legion. I think they're probably my favorite looking unit in Kislev so far. But then we jump into the Warbear Riders, which I think I agree with a lot of people. I'm surprised to only see one variation. It goes without saying that we're probably going to get a Regiment Renowned version that is a little bit different. This variation seems to be just the glaive or halberd version. Let's take a look. That I know I have a picture of. Here we go. Here's the Warbear Riders from the Ditty that we've already played. Now they've got bronze shields, they've got anti-large, and they've got AP. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Warbear Rider Regiment Renowned version that has got silver shields and drops anti-large and is just meant for perpetual combat. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would say that they would retain their AP damage profile, because here's Little Grom, and Little Grom is anti-infantry and AP because of the bears, I would assume. And if we look at Vitali, good old Vitali, where is card? Here's the unit card for Vitali. He has AP and he is on a Warbear. So I think Warbear is an AP granting unit. So I think that's why my reasoning here for the Warbear Rider in a perpetual combat stance would be AP. is because if you drop the glaive, that Warbear still exists doing AP damage. So I definitely think that we will be seeing a different Regiment of Renown version of the Warbear Rider. That at least gives us some sort of variation. Vested Spirit to most cavalry at staying in a fight after they engage, overpowering enemies with their weapons, and bears. Can take on almost any foe, mostly due to the bears. So jumping into the Horse Archers, again, we have the Ungol Horse Archers, which are not called Ungol Horse Archers, but which are Ungol Horse Archers. Again, kind of dissolving that weird cultural background there. Let me see if I got anything. Oh. Here's a little actual lore blurb for the Warbear Riders. So this is for the Knightly Orders, and this is from the Warhammer 8th edition rulebook. And just talked about the Knightly Orders of what's it called? Empire. And this is not what I was looking for. This little lore blurb here. It is not only war horses that the Knightly Orders ride to war. The elite of the Kislevite cavalrymen are said to keep plate-clad bears that obey their riders' growled commands, and the Knights of the Vengeful Sun have several units of highly trained demograph riders trained and ready for battle. So it'd be really cool if we got like a Knights of Ursun or something like that. And we've already seen Children of Ursun as a unit in the roster video that we did. So that could be a Regiment of Renown version of these Warbear Riders. I could easily see that. Jumping into the light war sleds, though, we get the two different variations of war sled in the heavy and the light. Light chariots only with a large number of angry men tied to the back of several bears, just as capable of charging the enemy to rout them with the angry smash of bear pact, as they're to pepper with long range rifles. Do you guys think that they made enough bear jokes in this roster reveal? You can't hide the amount of units with bear jokes, guys. A faster, less armored option for the commander on the move. So I would assume that the heavy war sled, like light war sleds, only absolutely covered in armor with heavier bears. This slows them down but makes them hardier in combat and more likely to survive should they accidentally charge an enemy back line. One of the best bear per capita returns in the army. Got another bear joke. So we get a combination of man catchers, poleaxes, glaives, and spears grant them deadly impact in melee combat, while handguns ensure that they can pack a punch at range. So we get some different options here, especially too with the light sleds. Loaded with supplies, especially black powder and shot, they trail behind rotas of winged lancers or regiments of Kossar warriors. War sleds are crewed by sturdy veterans who can be trusted to stand their ground, drawn from the ranks of the Streltsy and Kossars alike. So, oh, god damn you, Ross. So I would assume then that we're going to have a Streltsy version with the Streltsy gun, the great axe and handgun, and a Kossar version, probably with a spear and a bow. Maybe we'll get a third version that is just meant straight up for just ramming into combat, but I'm assuming we're going to get two of each from what it sounds like. Now we've got the Snow Leopard here. So this is one of the ones I want to jump into. When the Tzarina at the head of the ice court storms with the Tzarina at the head of the ice court, storms of death await for invading armies. And the beasts of Kislev stalk the forests and oblast, seeking out her foes. One such creature is the great saber-toothed snow leopard, a fierce battle cat that can be trained to protect the women of the ice court. Snow leopards' natural prey are wandering herbivores, but in times of famine, they have been known to consume chaos beasts, taking savage delight in chomping down a troll or minotaur when the need arises. So we've seen this unit plenty of times. We know that it's both a summonable and a recruitable unit from the FAQ. More than capable of taking down humongous creatures in a large enough pack. Adorable snow cats, which is worth a lot on its own. Extremely fast and very capable of taking on an enemy that finds itself lagging behind the main force. So not much to go on. Probably anti-large, from what it sounds like. Able to take down humongous creatures in a large enough pack. Probably AP. Probably has frostbite. So it feels like a feral manticore, Nicholas Vogel says, and I think that's a pretty solid statement right there. I'm surprised to see that it's both a recruitable and a summonable. So there is Form of the Frost Fiend, which allows you to turn into a Frost Fiend. Transformation of Katarin, I thought changed you into something in tabletop. So this could be their form of the Frost Fiend, in that it's not going to be called Frost Fiend, and it's probably like form of the Panther. I don't know, form of the Leopard, and it puts a leopard onto the battlefield as a summonable. But we would have seen that in the lore of Tempest or in the lore of Ice spells. So I don't know if it's going to be an actual lore spell or if it's going to be an army ability which allows you to summon this snow leopard. So kind of hard to say. And it is kind of interesting that transformation did turn caster into things. Right, exactly. This could possibly share a, what's it called? Skeleton, a 3D model with Wabam, the Saber Tusk, which would be a part of the Ogre Kingdoms. And the Ogre Kingdoms are probably going to need something like this anyway, because the rest of the army is relatively slow. So the Saber Tusk, being a part of the Ogre Kingdom, would probably share a 3D skeleton, wireframe, or model with the Snow Leopard. So it does make some sense here. Repurpose it, put it in both armies. This way, Kislev has got a very fast single entity unit that can hunt down large creatures and do AP damage. That's kind of cool. Because if we take a look at the rest of Kislev's roster, it doesn't have any fast AP damage capability. The bears are surprisingly fast. I mean, 75 speed it ain't too shabby. But I think the Snow Leopard is a way for it to get some single entity AP anti-large damage into the roster at a lower point in the tier system rather than having to wait. But at the same time, Kislev has access to tons and tons of hybrid range units. And one of the big things that Falcon taught me is that anti-large melee units are not nearly as good as anti-large range units, because an anti-large melee unit is mitigated, its damage is mitigated by the amount of units that can surround something and do damage to it. A hypothetical number here, let's take 180 spearmen and surround one large creature. Let's just take a dragon. Well, only 15 or 20 of those units can actually get around and do the damage. If you're shooting it with weapons, even if they're not anti-large, all of those weapons are connecting. So if they're all shooting a large target, for the most part, almost all of them are going to hit. I mean, there's a percentage, of course, that is not going to hit. So bears are extremely fast. I would never want to be chased by one. 75 is demograph speed. You ain't right. You ain't wrong, Romulan dog. What's up, big boy? But it'll be interesting to see that the Snow Leopard, how the Snow Leopard comes into the game and how you access it, if it is both a recruitable and a summonable. So, just some food for thought. Larry McFart dropping a $10 donation saying, "Woot! I just got off work and this holy demonstration of the Emperor's will has been blessed upon me, brother." Thank you very much, Larry. We did get another donation. I did not see who did it.
Thank you for the donation.
Let me pop into Streamlabs here to take a look. 1 second, guys. And just a $3 donation here from Andrew. Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate that, my dude. And guys, if you have not done so, you may at any point pre-order Total War Warhammer 3 on my Nexus store or the new DLC. Anything you need to do, it's there. It helps support the channel, and you get a Steam key directly from the developer, which is always nice. Now, the last unit here to talk about is the Elemental Bear, before I talk a little bit more about my thoughts on the roster as a whole, my general impression. Now, we've seen the Elemental Bear already. Oh no, we've got the little ground, forgot. So, biggest bear around, as happy beating down the doors of a castle as it is causing terror among all the tiny bipedals below it. Unbreakable, irresistible, and the hardiest thing on the battlefield. And they ain't wrong. Let's take a look at the Elemental Bear. Unit card, there it is. So here's our Elemental Bear. And here is our actual stat line. There's some debuffs going on here. You can see due to his his health, I believe, is at wounds threshold. I can't remember. I think it's actually just at wounds threshold, and the aura of that bloodthirster is smacking it up a little bit. But this at least gives you a sense for his stat line. I unfortunately don't have one that is untouched because I am a fool of a took. But you can see here that he has got 600 whopping weapon strength. He has siege attacker. He does cause terror. He is unbreakable. He's got the wounds. He's got a breath attack ability as well, and he has some innate resistances. So that is, I mean, at 90 armor too, that's a pretty nice unit. It'll be interesting to see how expensive and how hard he is to tech into. That's always kind of the gate with these bigger units, is how hard it is to get into them. You're not wrong, AIM. You are not wrong. So it'll be interesting to see how this guy is teched up and how gated he is in your playthrough, because I kind of feel that a lot of the big centerpiece units can have that feel. I'm a little surprised that we didn't get either the Baba Yaga or a Frost Fiend as an option here as a centerpiece unit, but I guess the other centerpiece unit, if you want to consider it that, is Little Grom. Kislev is not known for massed artillery. In fact, at many points throughout its history, the Boyars and Tzarina have been Tzarina would be another option for a hero unit. Have been expressly forbidden from maintaining their own. In the reign of Tsar Alexis, a dozen new cannons were commissioned under the orders that their roar would drown out the hordes of chaos like the thunder of gods. The Thunderers, as they were known, made a great difference in the battles that eventually saw the legions of chaos thrown back into the northern wastes. By the time the fighting was over, most of the 12 Thunderers were lost, but a precious few remain. Long-range, powerful single artillery piece, pulled by two bears, is capable of ravaging enemies in melee as their brothers, can charge and collide with enemies in a pinch. So, you see Little Grom here is our final artillery piece, and interesting here, right? Yeah, that's right. I was remembering something, but I wanted to make sure I would check my note. But yeah, Tsar Alexis is the ruler of Kislev during the Great War with Chaos, and that is the time where we've seen all of the cities of Chaos beset by the armies of Asabar Kul, one of the last ever chosens. So this is where we get this big thing, you know, right? The Thunderers, and how there's only a couple left because the rest were lost. That's a pretty big war. That war is what really brings magic to the Empire. Teclis comes and helps out in that Great Chaos War, and it's a pretty pivotal moment. Something I'd really wish that they would explore in Total War Warhammer in some capacity. Like, it'd be total off topic here, sidebar. It'd be really cool to do a what the hell would a saga title that was set in like the Great War of Chaos. And it had just completely different units, and they were all just simple units that were used in that saga title that was all Warhammer based. That'd be pretty cool to really jump into that, because it is such a pivotal point in the lore, and it has a lot. It's like a turning point in a lot of factions' histories too. It could be a really cool thing to jump into. But that concludes our roster reveal here for today. We're at about an hour and a half. We're gonna do about a 10, 15, 20 minute kind of Q&A. Then I got to work on a video here for the Lore of Tempest, which we'll put out tomorrow. We've already kind of gone over it here a little bit, but I'll just kind of flesh out my ideas and make them a little bit better. So is Grom a regiment renowned, or can you get a fleet of Little Groms? You can get a fleet of Little Groms, Romulan. Looking small today, dude? How dare you, Milk and Cookies Total War? I can't stand Indie Pride. I am all about being a positive individual, but Indie Pride is a negative man, a negative Nancy. He told me a story this last weekend about how he went and abused a member of the wait staff. Indie Pride you should not trust Indie Pride when you go out to restaurants with him. He just screams at the wait staff, goes, "What do you mean? This is cold water. I wanted warm water." Yeah, Indie Pride is toxic. Dude, Rami the dog is hot as fuck. I seen it. He's got like a picture of him like drinking an iced tea in like a big old like raft on a pool. Just looking yoked. Looks like former D1 linebacker, I meant. Indy, yeah, Indy wants to see your manager. I've seen Indy Pride's haircut. Total Karen. Indy Pride was telling me, like, he was telling me, I don't know if you went to Buffalo Wild Wings or where you went, Indy, if you're still there. But the story you were telling me about the guy, like, you ordered, like, you always have these, like, ridiculous stories about, like, waitstaff fucking up orders for you. But, like, they messed up his order of wings. Like, the guy was, like, kind of indignant about it. Like, at least I got one of them right. And then Indy splashed water on the guy's face and said, I'm out. I'm leaving. You're not getting a tip from me. Texas Roadhouse was last weekend. What was the one when you ordered, like, one was teriyaki flavored wings and the other one was a different flavor of wings? And, the guy's like, well, at least I got one right. Romulan Dog was indeed a body double for Chris Hemsworth. Fat Chris Hemsworth. Gretchen? Oh my god. One of the little ones just like down here like, yes! Dude, protein powder and Terramana tequila. Guys, go check out Curbs Nation. He's a good friend of mine. He was just at a local watering hole that him and I both frequent. He's at 600 subscribers. He does a ton of funny content, especially voiceover work he's been doing for Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's hilarious. Go check out my good friend Curbs Nation, Jeremy Kirby, good friend of mine. One of the best dancers I've ever met in my life. One of the best dancers I've ever met. He got me too drunk on Saturday though, so not too much of a friend, not too good of a friend. How long do you think the next roster reveal will be? So Jake, here's my impression on this roster reveal. I'm disappointed to see that we waited so long for this roster reveal to get to get concept sketches or pictures we've already seen, and to also get one unit. I mean, if you think about it, we've seen almost every single one of the units in this roster reveal, for the exception of the Dervish. We've seen the Armored Kossars and we've seen the Zargard. But now we know them to be separate units. That's the only difference, right? But we've not seen the Kossified Dervishes. And maybe we have, and they were in the background, or they were charging in one of those big, huge sweeping shots. But it's just kind of it's a little disappointing to see the lack of mount options, the lack of roster diversity by the end of the day. Like, I mean, yeah, the roster is cool and it's great, but the impression that a lot of us had going into the Citadel, the Brass Citadel, was that there was more to be revealed of this roster. And yeah, you could argue, sure, we didn't see all of the abilities of the Patriarch. We did not see the Frost Maidens or the Ice Witches. And they've talked about the Hags, so I'm surprised that the Hags aren't even mentioned in this. We did not see the Dervishes, and we did not see the different variations of the Armored Kossars. So you could make the argument like, yeah, you still didn't see all those things. Sure. But we really kind of saw everything, right? This is not so much of a reveal as much as it is a confirmation. And that to me is a little lackluster. Technically, the Kislev roster is bigger than any Warhammer 2 launch race. Jean-Marc, I challenge that. I believe that there's 23 units to the 25 of some of the other ones. And you can feel free to challenge me back on that and say like, hey, no, I just counted it. It's this for these races. And I'll trust you, but I'm pretty sure this is the lowest amount of units that we've seen in a launch race. Maybe since Warhammer 2. I don't know about Warhammer 1. Which races do you think Kislev will have a DLC with? Probably Chaos. I think definitely Chaos. Like I could see Valkia the Bloody fighting something like like maybe even Boris, right? Bring Boris into the game. But Boris is dead, so Cat should be running a cat mount. Damn you, Cody Smith. It's too good.
Thank you for the donation.
Not counting weapon variants. So you're saying you're looking at Dread. Not counting weapon, for example. Okay, so shades you're counting as one unit, or are you saying it's just shades are just one unit, right? Sorry guys, my brain is not fucking functioning at all today. Less if you count weapon variants. Okay. Yeah, a Great Stag, the Obelisk Great Stag is a pretty interesting unit, not to be here for a mount, I would guess. That could definitely be reflavored here for a mount for them. They have not that I'm aware of, Perfect Cell. India, are you still there? Darth Conrad, do you think the smaller roster is a good trade-off for 7 races on launch? I don't know. I don't know if one race will be complete, you know? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a... Now, when I say complete, this is kind of like an ambiguous term, right? Because we don't know what the complete roster is for Cathay. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's no planned content for Cathay beyond launch, because they're saying like, hey, yeah, we don't, Cathay blew our dev budget and we put everything into making Cathay. We are relying on fleshing the other races out via DLC. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the stance. If they just said, hey, we have to do 100% custom stuff for Cathay, and that's going to eat all of our money, and we'll just wait to do a bunch of budget-approved DLCs for the other guys. Is CA's disclosing schedule based on GW's decision? Yo man, what's up? I made a video on that. I don't know, but I made a video on that. On just basically any... I think Games Workshop has more pull on all this stuff on any one of their games, because they are like... They're in the office all the time. They're pulling the strings on everything. They're like the ones that know what they want for the future of all their games. Missing the Baba Yaga legged huts, body slamming plebs. You know, you're not wrong. I don't think Khorne will be more of a reveal. I think honestly we've seen Khorne, and I'm cool with Khorne. I'm fine with Khorne being exactly what it is. What I think we'll find out with Khorne is which units from the Warriors of Chaos roster are coming into the Demons as a whole roster. We saw the Bloodthirster, we saw the Exalted Bloodthirster, we saw the Blood Crusher, the Skull Taker, we saw the Cannon, the Skull Cannon of Khorne, we saw the Hounds now of Khorne, we've seen Scarbrand himself, and we've seen the what the hell are the blood? We've seen the Bloodletters and exalted versions of the Bloodletters. That's the Khorne roster. I'm cool with it. But I think that getting the full roster reveal will be interesting to see what they're going to pull. Okay, so we know we're getting Chaos Warhounds, Khorne. We know we're getting Furies, Khorne. And we know we're getting Spawn, Khorne. But I wonder... And we know we're getting Warriors with different variations, thus of, and Exalted or Chosen versions. So, are we going to get Marauders? And from the actual CG trailer, we saw Marauders. Are we going to get Minotaurs? Are we going to get Khorne Trolls? So that's what I think I'm most interested in the Khorne reveal, is how it will set the pace or the precedence for what we get in the other Chaos Demons. And maybe the other Chaos Demons are different, right? So maybe we'd get Khorne Minotaurs, but for Slaanesh, we get Slaaneshi Gores or something of the sort. So I'm curious to see what goes on there. Have you considered Earth boring mining drills as a potential DLC unit? For who? For the dwarfs? Chaos Wars? Yeah. Do you think the Chaos Warriors and Marauders of the other gods will use the same Chaos Warrior frames like Khorne did? EJ Mongrove, I don't know. I think that they might use the same skeletons, but I think that they might have different things posted onto them, right? Like, I want to see tentacles on Tzeentch ones, right? Or pincers on Slaanesh ones, stuff like that. But at the same time, there was a difference. Usually you would have possessed and non-possessed units, I believe it was, for no, I'm thinking of 40k. Oh man, I'm thinking of the really old, jankety, crappy Chaos Warrior units. So, Chaos Warriors 6th edition. These things look like crap. These are the old Chaos Warriors. Old Chaos Warriors. Oh my god. Look how terrible these things are. And they got an update. And I think... I don't remember if... I think they got that update in Storm of Chaos. I can't remember when they got the new box, but it was so beautiful. And this is the Chaos units that you see in Total War Warhammer. And the same ones that they've even changed for Age of Sigmar. It's just a dynamic pose of these guys, because these guys are badasses. Those are some of the coolest looking models in Warhammer Fantasy. And they stood the test of time. Like, I actually have... So the way that model is put together is it's a chest piece that sockets onto a back. And the back has the shoulders, the fur, and the cloak. So what I did for one of my Space Marine Wolf Lords, my Space Wolves, I just took the chest off and put a Marine chest on him, and he looked girthy. He looked so sick. Rowinger, thank you very much, man. 50 Norwegian Kronu from Rowinger saying next roster reveal after Khorne. Speculations. I wonder if they're just going to keep doing this duo thing. If in fact they release in September, like I am speculating, then we got 3 months left. So I wouldn't be surprised if next month is all DLC, right? Because we have the Total War Warhammer 2 DLC, and then we have got just 2 months back to back, and the next month being Slaanesh and Nurgle, followed by Tzeentch and Cathay. That's my supposition, my guesstimate. You think we'll see marked units in the upcoming Beastman update? I hope so, Grant. We got some pretty sus-looking gores in those pictures, so that has led a lot of people to believe that we're getting Khorne gores or something of the sort. Alright guys, I think I'll leave us open for about 5 or 10 more minutes. Any more questions you want to ask, go ahead and mention me and we can answer them together. But I think we've covered pretty much anything. If there's anything that I missed that you wanted me to go over, please let me know. 100% Tzeentch getting skipped. I don't know, Jacob. Hopefully soon, dude. Can we expect the Dawi to get at least 2 DLCs? I hope. I really want... I'm most excited for Chaos Dwarfs. I honestly am. I think that they are going to be a very fun faction. Now, whether that's a pre-order DLC or a download or like the next DLC, I don't know. But I think I'm most hyped for them because I've now seen Kislev so much that my hype for Kislev has died down. I get it. I got it. I'm cool. I understand what they're going to be about. Great. Can't wait to play them. But I think I'm most stoked for Chaos Dwarfs. And I do not like dwarfs. So take that with not a grain of salt, but it's a huge indicator of something I'm excited about. I'm trying to say. Total War World of Warcraft? Oh, they already made it. It's called Warcraft 1 and 2 and 3. Warcraft 3 might be one of the best games ever made by human beings, followed by Diablo 2. Back when Blizzard wasn't owned by Activision and didn't have to cater to a board of trustees. I'm going to go ahead and roll some credits here, guys. See if we can get any more questions go ahead and ask away. If you're watching this after the fact, please feel free to post a comment and a question, and I'll answer it if I can. Oh man, you can't even see that. What image am I going to show? There we go. That'll be cool. See? There we go. Am I Thomas the Tank with the Chaos Dwarfs? Absolutely. I want that Doom engine. Do you think they will add altars for heroes and lords? What way, Robert? You expect Elves and Skaven to get any DLC in Warhammer 3? I do, because they are both the top 5 most played campaigns, with Skaven being number 2 and High Elves being number 3. When do I stream next? I'm going to be playing Crusader Kings 3 on Thursday. They're both here with the remaster. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Let me give out some thank yous here. Coming up to about an hour 41 in our stream here today. We did get some donations, so let me just give a thanks to those. We got the opening donation for $5 from Paris. Thank you very much, my dude. $10 from Jarl of the North. $5 from Chris Nicholson. Another $3 from Andrew. $10 from Larry McFart. A 5-pounder from DLRC. And then a 50 Norwegian Kronu from Rewinger. So thank you guys all very much for your donations here today. I can't tell you how much they mean to me. Absolutely, Knowledge. Happy to help you out, dude. The whole point of streaming is to answer the questions of the folk. It's always good to see Romulan Dog here too, you know? OG. One of the best in the game. Chronicax asked, I apologize if this is common knowledge, but I've had trouble keeping up with all the new info. Has CA announced or hinted at any changes to sieges coming in Warhammer 2 and 3? Yes, they have announced ambiguously that a bunch of changes are coming to sieges in Warhammer 3, but we don't know yet what. We don't know what yet. Oh, dude, but Knowledge, his streams get so big, dude. What is it? We're at 240 people. What do we peak at? We peaked at like 314. Yeah, 300 and some people. I think 320 was probably our peak. So his streams get too big probably to answer
Thank you for the donation.
Consistently. So happy to do it though, Knowledge. Thank you, Rewinger. Dropping another 50 Norwegian Kronu on me, you dirty bastard, you. Thank you, man. I just crump a lot. How dare you? Billy Belichick would be so disappointed in you right now. You think they'll add Screech Vermin King? I hope so. I really think that we need to see Vermin Lords. That's the name of them? Yeah, Vermin Lords, right? Yeah, absolutely Vermin Lord. I think Vermin Lords Vermin Lords would make sense with a Thanquol DLC. And I think that they've held Thanquol in pocket for Warhammer 3. Just like I think they've held Nagash in pocket for Warhammer 3. Larry, I wouldn't be surprised if they were initially designed that way, but enough backlash has pushed them the other way. The sun to moon the stars, guys. Is there any update on dwarfs? Not that I am aware of, unfortunately, Strangly Green. I just kind of want them to get a little touch before Warhammer 2 closes off. Who will think will fight in Warhammer 3? It could be Thanquol versus Nagash. Just as kind of like, hey, here's us bringing these two Warhammer 2 races into Warhammer 3, and here's big centerpiece stuff for them. You have a lot of big centerpiece stuff you could do with those two. Or maybe that's the final DLC and they do an End Times theme thing. I don't think that they will jump into an End Times scenario, but I do think that they will bring end times units, EJ Mongrove. It makes sense, dude. The Morngast is badass. Why would you not want that? End times Nagash is sick. End games Thankful is sick. Glotkin is a big, huge chungus. The new Vermin Lords, which are end times units, are badass. The Bloodthirster is an end times Bloodthirster. Hey, Chronicax, thank you very much, man. We got a new member of the channel. Thank you very much. All the members here, Ross, Travers, Rewinger, that have been popping in and out of the stream. Thank you guys very much for watching. Memberships help me out a ton because it's basically like, hey, here's dependable income every month, so I can rely less on putting a ton of videos out, and I can work on better, higher quality videos. So thank you very much. I just updated all of the little helmets now. They actually have a progression of like Spartan helmets, so they look really cool. Wasn't Snitch involved against Nagash something, delivering a dagger or something? Yes, I don't know if it was Snitch, but the sword or the dagger, there's a specific name for it, that kills or hurts Nagash, was given to... Oh... I thought it was given to a Tomb King, to like the famous one. Oh man, it's got like a special name and I can't think of it off the top of my head. The Fellblade, the Fellblade, the Fellblade. But yes, the Fellblade. Oh, Alcatazar, thank you, that's it. Alcatazar, the Tomb King Alcatazar. The Fellblade was given to him to kill Nagash. Because it's funny because like the Skaven are so paranoid of everything, right? And Nagash sets up like a trade and infrastructure and spying network with the Skaven. Actually, no, I think I'm thinking of Jafar. Yeah, Jafar sets this up with the Skaven, the leader of Araby. And then the Skaven like go, I don't know about this. This guy's freaking me out. I'm a little too paranoid, a little too paranoid, a little too paranoid. You know, Skaven are all like huffing warpstone dust. And they just completely like double cross him. Game of Thrones Total War, Lord of the Rings Total War? A Lord of the Rings Total War I'd want more. I want a Game of Thrones standalone game, I think. How many subs did you need to go full-time on YouTube? I think it was around 20 or 30,000 subs, Robert. And it was because YouTube was pulling in enough money that it covered my rent plus like $600, $700. So it was enough for me to live off of. And then I said, screw it, I hate working in sales. Like, I was the head of a sales department, and I was making like 6 figures, dude. I was like, what you want to be, right? You're like, oh yeah, 6 figures, making the sales money. It sucked. Like, there's definitely a difference between making a shit ton of money and spending a shit ton of money because you are unfulfilled and sad all the time, and not making a shit ton of money, but not spending your money all the time because you're just fulfilled and feel like every day, like, oh, it was a good day. Did some positive work for what I wanted and love. So I realized that I was able to live off of significantly less money because I didn't need to spend the money all the time. I think at the height of working in sales, I was making $117,000 a year, and I was spending, I don't know, dude, like 100 grand a year, 90 grand a year. I don't fucking know, but enough that I really wasn't saving money because I was so miserable every day that I would just buy something to give myself a shot of dopamine for 10 days, for 14 days, whatever, to just kind of tide me over, to then be miserable again, go to sleep, wake up, stare at the ceiling and go, why the fuck do I even do this? And there was a point when I was working and I was like, 22-year-old me would not want to hang out with 28, 29-year-old me. Like, this sucks. He would go, what the fuck are you, man? Like, this is not what we thought about when we were younger and the things that we wanted to be. And that's when I was like, this is shit. This is absolute shit. So I decided to do YouTube because I wanted to get into the gaming industry, because I wanted to become a worker, and I wanted to join the industry. I wanted to become like a marketer in the industry. And I realized I had all this internet marketing background. excuse me, all this internet marketing background, all the sales background and business background, that is any company would be stoked on, but not in the gaming industry because they care about any AAA titles you've shipped. And now I've been able to work with Creative Assembly and do contract work with them. And I have game credit for 2 games. I've shipped 2 AAA titles. So now I can apply for a job and actually have something to my name. I can say, hey, here's my organic quote unquote resume of a YouTube channel that I've grown to 120,000 subscribers on my own over X amount of years, this. And it's just, it worked out way better than I ever thought it would. And Knowledge Spreader, I had been playing Warhammer for 22 years. And Turin had said, hey, have you ever heard of this game called Total War Warhammer? I'm like, fuck yeah, Total War Warhammer. Play the shit out of it. Like, I grew up playing. He goes, well, dude, do you have a microphone? I'm like, no, not really. He goes, why don't you buy a mic and make a lore video? And he showed me a lot of like other lore YouTubers. And it wasn't that he was shitting on them. He was just saying like, look, you don't have to have fancy editing skills or stuff like this. I happen to have taken editing classes, so I knew how to do stuff. But he showed me like Inept General or SoTech, and he's like, look, they're just talking about the lore. So if you can just do that, you've got it. So that's how I started doing YouTube. Speculations about the final battle between Kislev and Khorne. I'm not sure. Like, what do you want to know in that speculation, I'd say? EJ Mongrove asked about a video on this and like what my transition is. I'm going to be doing a podcast with Renee Sky, and I believe we'll be covering stuff like that, so I'll let you know about it. This is the secret to eternal youth. I drink like 150 to 160 ounces of water a day. Sorry, I don't know what that is in liters. 1.2 liters is 40 ounces, so I don't know. I drink like 4.8 liters a day. Just say 5 liters, make it an even 5. I don't know what the outcomes are going to be from the final battle between Kislev and Khorne from a lore perspective. It'll probably be some sort of thing that's like, we've shut the gates of chaos, but they'll open again. It'll be like that kind of open-ended, probably kind of ending that just says like, oh, we've won, but there's another battle to fight down the way. Do you wear sleeves? Rarely, Grant. It's mainly because I always wore button-down shirts for like 10 years. Can you beat India multiplayer? No, I cannot. I have not played a game of multiplayer in like a year plus. And that is a hard depreciating skill. If you are a competitive multiplayer, you have to play almost every day. And if you don't, the micro ability falls off fast. Anyone who's played any kind of competitive RTS will tell you that. APM is a hard fall off. But it's also, what is it right now? It's 10 a.m. and it is almost 100 degrees out. So I don't wear sleeves. I'm in Southern California. Do I have plans for the future? And if so, what are they? Grow the channel. Expand into more just strategy games rather than just Total War and Crusader Kings and Mountain Blade. Can I beat myself in multiplayer? Hardly. It's the worst staring contest ever. Jake, to answer your question, though, you said, I don't believe you're 30 plus. I am only 20 and everyone thinks I'm older. When I was 20, everyone thought I was older. Now that I'm older, everyone thinks I'm younger. So take it as it's a gift you've been given. You, in turn, are my favorite Warhammer content creators. Do you think that Warhammer 3 will have a better multiplayer scene and attract more people, or too many factions now? I think it will have a better multiplayer scene as soon as we find out how they've changed stuff for multiplayer. They've hinted at it a little bit, so I'm excited to see what those changes include. But on that note, guys, we're going to be shutting things down here. We've reached our just shy of 2-hour mark here, so thank you guys so much for watching here today. Again, thank you very much for everyone that joined us, from new subscribers, from people who have given donations, to our new members. Thank you all very much. And for those of you who had awesome questions and such, thank you again for answering. And if you're watching after the fact, again, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below if you have any other questions I can hopefully answer. No, thank you so much, Knowledge. Thank you for joining, man. Grant, have a good one, dude. Agent Cobby, have a good one, brother. Storm Sheet of Art code on your Warhammer figures. Yes, absolutely. Of course, Dylan. Happy to do it, dude. Later, Rewinger. Rockanax, thank you for the new membership, my guy. Tzarina, thank you very much. Thomas Gideon, thank you as well. Agent Cobby, I will try to keep up the good work. Sometimes it can be exhausting, though. You too, Jake. Have a good day as well. Thank you, Travers, and thank you for being a member as well, dude. You and your awesome little icon. Neil Perrin, thank you. Good to see you again, brother. Pump on the iron, and thanks for the stream. Oh, always. Regal Giant, thank you very much. Larry McFark, good to see you. Captain Melons, have a good one, dude. You too, Robert B. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, Derek, it'll be up as a VOD, so you can watch it for as long as you so wish. You too, Curtis. Ross, thank you very much, man. Have a good one. Breton, I don't know how to say your name, but spasibo to you as well. You too, Sil. EJ, have a going, brother. Derek, you weren't subscribed? How dare you? How dare you? All right, guys. Everyone, have a good day. Take care, and I'll see you again on Thursday with another stream of Crusader Kings 3. But again, have a good one, and take care.